of it is really just excavating memories. Because also it's like in the process of writing it, for John and me, it's like himself at different ages and phases are almost like characters. So it's like the dialogue and what he remembers and how do we put it together. That came through email correspondence, and just I taped every interview, I transcribed it with a transcription thing, and really noticed his cadence, right? So when you read the book, not if, when you read the book, you'll notice it's how John talks, it's how he writes, and it's not long sentences. I talk in long sentences. That's not it.
And I'm a heckler.
Yeah, and he's a heckler. So it was a very creative process, and it was.
But I think the most important thing was that I felt completely at ease to trust her with being vulnerable and telling a version of my truth. It's never complete, and a memoir by definition is your one person's version of what happened. Mm-hmm. I've had calls from people who I used to work with who said, God, did that really happen? I think I remember it this way. And I was like, well, write your own damn book. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about and is that, finding people who you can trust to collaborate with and who you can trust to create community with is really what the book is about. When we were sitting in the green room, it was said that you all are bonding into a community, and that's a very important part of the message of this institution. It's really a very important part of any endeavor, whether you're the Dodgers getting ready to play in Game 2 of the playoffs. You're a team, and it's not a new idea, but finding a community where that is bonded by respect and a mutual interest and the opportunity for excellence, and finding your role in that community. So collaboration and community is what it's about. If obviously in some sense, it's my story, but really it's the story of mostly John Wells Productions, but in general, costume designers and set builders and cinematographers and all of the various people who get together and make a television show. And Hillary Clinton was right. It does take a village, and when you can create a village that has respect and that mutual interest, it does give you an opportunity to shine.
Mm-hmm. And to really make magic happen. I mean, the series that you've worked on, ER, West Wing, Animal Kingdom, Shameless. I mean, you've cast all of these, which is extraordinary. It's excellent work. Cast with excellent actors, and having that eye for it and having that community, right, to support that makes this work so good.
I completely agree. Partly it's that I had a relationship with one leader for almost all of my career. Yeah. And that was John Wells, who I met. Actually, the first show that we haven't talked about is China Beach, which many of you are way too young to have seen or remember. But it was a story of women in Vietnam, which it was like one of them was a nurse, and one of them was what they called a donut dolly, which was a volunteer. And one of them was a sort of a corrupt purveyor of anything you needed, she could get you. John Wells was brought on to China Beach when it went to series because the studio didn't trust the guy who created it to stay on budget. And John had a deal at Warner Brothers Television, and he was beholden to the Warner Brothers administration, and so they sort of planted him in the writer's room to make John Young behave.
To keep him on budget, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And so through the writer's room and through the casting process, how did your relationship develop?
with John.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting because I had such a strong bond with John Young and Bill Broyles and Rod Holcomb. Rod was the director of China Beach, and Bill was the Vietnam veteran who created the script with John Young. That when Wells came in, he saw me as part of the people he was monitoring.
Okay.
And so it took us a little while, but we bonded over our theater backgrounds. He's a Carnegie Mellon graduate, spent quite a number of years stage managing in New York before he started his writing career. And we knew a bunch of the same people who a lot of the TV people didn't know.
Yeah.
And we carefully and gradually developed the respect that led to a really long and fruitful relationship. And when you read the book, you'll see that John Wells wrote a foreword in it that I can't read very often without. It's hard to read when you're crying and you're wearing glasses.
A very rare thing in this business too, to have a relationship like that for so many years.
Absolutely.
So to go back a little bit, you did start in the theater.
I did.
You started out in New York. You went to school in upstate New York, correct?
Rochester.
And then you came out here and got a fellowship at the Taper.
Well, before I got the fellowship, a woman I barely knew gave me a script called The Night of the 20th, written by an Israeli playwright, Yashua Sobel, I believe his name is. And it was in Hebrew, which I don't speak, and I certainly don't read it. But I spent $50 to get somebody to translate it into English, and it turned out that it was the story of a bunch of Eastern European Jewish kids who were escaping what they saw as the oppression of their parents' generation, socially, politically, sexually, and all that. And it so lined up with my experience as a 60s person. I reluctantly use the word hippie. And so it really spoke to me, and I directed it for a company here in LA, and it just so happened, and this is another theme of the book, that being open to the happy accident is a very important thing to develop and maintain as you go through your long careers. I cast a young man to play as sort of the poet character, and he happened to be in a relationship with a guy who was the director of audience development at the Mark Taper Forum, and Jeremy would go home at night and say how much fun he was having in the rehearsal period, and then Bob came to one of the previews, and he thought it was pretty great, and he invited Gordon Davidson to come to see the show on opening night. And Gordon, for those of you who don't know, the late, great Gordon Davidson ran Centra Theater Group and the Mark Taper Forum here in Los Angeles for its whole existence until he retired and then died. And Gordon, off of that one play, offered me what was supposed to be the NEA Directors Fellowship at the Taper in 1980. How many people were born in 1980?
Okay, great.
And unfortunately, the woman who wrote the grants at the Taper missed the deadline. So I didn't actually get the NEA Directors Fellowship. So if I run for office and you see that on my resume, it's a lie. But fortunately, Gordon offered me an unnamed fellowship, and I was at the Taper for 2.5 years, and it was the time of my life in some ways.
Yeah, talk about collaboration.
Yeah, well, the theater is, the ultimate collaboration.
Yeah.
I mean, so is television and so is film. It was just a fantastic experience to be under a great leader like Gordon, who created a community where respect and, obviously they had a long way to go about inclusion and diversity in 1980. All of the directors' fellows were men, although the number 2 in the artistic staff was a woman. It was just, I thought my dreams had all come true.
Yeah. Yeah. To land at the taper, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of jumping around a little bit, but in terms of like actors that you gravitate towards and in your casting, would you say that did they come from the theater? Is there a special affinity towards those type of actors?
Well, I certainly value training, and I certainly value theater experience. At the back of the book, there are a number of other people's memories, we called it. One friend said, "Are you really writing a book, or are you just collecting accolades?" Jokingly, it's a little bit like being at your funeral, but still alive. But Allison Janney, the fantastic actress who was CJ on The West Wing, said in her memory that I had peopled the show with theater people, and that was how they first bonded and created a community, something like that. So, if after I see your audition, I write simple and real, that's very good from my point of view. When I was a kid at the Actors Studio in New York, there was a big sign over the stage that said, "No acting, please." And I'm a big proponent that a good performance is like a good haircut. It doesn't look like you just had one, and it doesn't look like you need one. It just looks like you look good. I'm attracted to singers who, like Diana Krall or Frank Sinatra, who just let the words and the melody tumble out of their mouths, and they don't push the envelope. And then when and if the time comes that they have to push the envelope, they're capable of doing that, but there's no sense of performance or forced performance. It's simple and real is what I value.
Right, because it's inauthentic, right? And you can spot that from a mile away.
Absolutely.
Yeah. How long does it take you to sort of, by the time someone comes through the door to get in front of you?
I have to control myself.
Really?
To give someone a 30 seconds instead of 8.
Really? It's that quickly?
Yeah.
What is it? What are you looking for when someone walks through the door? Is there something specific that you're looking for? You talk about being a vibist, right?
Well, I mean, I think the example of meeting Trudy is, germane here, is that I felt that I could trust her right away. I felt that she was a mother of 2 kids and in a long-term marriage, and that I valued those things, and I know what it takes to accomplish that, and I value that. And I obviously I could sense very quickly that she was empathetic and smart, and so I let my guard down. And I did that in 10,000 auditions or 100,000 auditions. I could just get a sense that people would care about you when you were telling your story, playing your part. And if I thought the audience could care about you because I was invested in you, that and then of course there's always the commercial element, which I honed after a while, because I was a bit of a snob at first about television.
Right. Yes.
I suppose that there are not too many minors here, so I always felt it was kind of the whorehouse of show business. but it's not actually. Almost all of the best work that's happening now is happening in television, because movies are all comic books and superheroes, and there's not much acting going on. There's a lot of flying, punching, and such.
I remember Jack Nicholson saying, "Oh, I would never do television. I never, you'd never hear anybody say that these days."
Absolutely, and rightly so. I mean, in fact, my experience is that for women, for decades, the work has been better in television than it was in the feature. I remember some I don't remember the name of the movie, but it took place in Japan, actually. And there was a woman character who was in the first 8 minutes, and then she came back in the last 4 minutes. And it was like, I wonder what she's been doing for the whole rest of the film. Where was she? But yeah, television is, I was going to say the commercial part of it, which I got to learn to respect. Mm-hmm. You know, most of the characters need to be a little bit more fabulous than the rest of us. Mm-hmm. You know, so you're also looking for, besides simple and real, you don't mind beauty, humor, danger, sexuality, you know, all of those other
those
visceral
untouchables.
And you know, some people, you know, I hate the word type when you're talking about actors because I think it sort of boxes them in. But people have qualities, and you know, if everybody you know is always confiding in you, you seem trustworthy. You might be the biggest gossip in the world, but you seem trustworthy. If nobody ever hits on you, your sexuality is in behind you.
Yeah, maybe in your pocket somewhere.
Right. But if everybody's always hitting on you, then you seem, we don't need to know what the truth is. We need to know what your quality is.
Yeah. And what you're capable of, right?
Yes, and then of course what your training supports and how hard you're willing to work and how much fun it'll be to spend 15 hours with you on the set on Tuesday next week.
Yeah. Yeah, because the attitude is everything also, right? Yeah. There's this great part in the book where you overheard an actress saying, I get to do this, not I have to do this. Yeah. And just having that approach to not only the work, but life in general,
Absolutely.
I thought was so simple, but yet so powerful. And so to walk into a room, and when you are asked to do something challenging or out of your comfort zone, in her case, to go topless, right? Mm-hmm. She was so excited to get to do that.
Yeah.
Which I thought was just so profound.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, we talked about that at great length.
Back and forth about, do we want to, you know, a woman taking off her top nowadays, like, is that piece, like, do we want to say that? Like, she's like, I get to. And actually, that to me, that's feminism, right? She owned the whole thing, and she was a dedicated actress, and
she got to.
She was she got to.
But yeah, I mean, nobody would want to play Medea if they, you know, I mean, who would want to play Oedipus, you know, or Lady Macbeth? You know, none of them are, you know, or any of the boys on Animal Kingdom.
Yeah.
You know, but those actors embraced. Partly I get to ride ski-doos in the ocean and motorcycles on the ground and shoot guns and jump off buildings and all that crazy fun boys with toys stuff. But they also embraced the complexity of the people they were playing, and they got to.
Yeah.
And they weren't, so there wasn't any resistance or like, how do I make this character appealing while I'm killing my mother? You know, you kind of have to give that part of it up.
Yeah. Yeah, that likability, for lack of a better word. What I say to my students, it's like actors get to express themselves in ways they don't get to in real life, right?
And you don't want to.
Exactly. Those darker aspects of ourselves that we get to explore under those imaginary circumstances.
Yeah, in that safe environment.
Exactly. Can you spot somebody that has that I get to rather than I have to?
I think it's pretty easy to see bravery in someone's take on a performance.
Okay.
Someone who's willing to just walk off the ledge and see where it goes.
Yeah.
And that's the quality that embodies I get to.
Yeah. So for our young actors here who are going into audition rooms for the first time, what would be like the biggest or the most important thing that they should, I don't know, that you're looking for, they are trying to convey, such as confidence or being incredibly prepared, obviously, or what do you like?
Well, all of that.
Right.
I mean, preparation is everything.
Yeah.
Because not only does it say to me that you're taking your job seriously, it also gives you a way of coping with your nerves. Because if you're genuinely prepared, did you ever take a test that was hard if you knew the answers? They weren't hard. Those are tests you're capable of doing really well on. And if you view, I think also the actors who viewed auditions as an opportunity to act, not as a gateway to money and fame or a job, or just as a chance to do what you love. And also to bring your respect for it into the room. I love it when you take it seriously, but I also love it when you take it seriously without too much seriousness.
Yeah.
So that you're loose and easy and you're yourself. You're authentic. You're being real. You can see people who are not breathing. You can tell when people, their sides are shaking madly. And that doesn't engender a lot of confidence on my end. Everything that happens in a live audition is information. And that's why I personally miss live auditions terribly. I don't learn as much about you. And we're, after all, in the people story business. And so I want to know about you so I can know if you're shameless, but right for the role.
Right for the role. Yeah. Look at that.
Wow. That's really good.
Clap. You're good.
And I get to say shameless plug, and people think I'm talking about the show.
In terms of, let's just shift gears a little bit. In terms of the people you have cast, like who are some of the people that you're most proud to put in specific roles?
Wow. It's a little bit like asking me which one of my children I love the most.
I know. I know it's a long list, so that very long list.
The first show that really put me on the map was China Peach, and so I have an enormous affection for Marg Helgenberger and Dana Delaney. We were kids together, and they've both gone on to fantastic careers, and I'm very happy for them. And anytime I get to see them, I'm thrilled. ER, of course, changed my life, and so you can't ever forget that.
Yeah.
And I think of all of the performances in ER, and I don't think I've ever said this before. I'm not sure I've ever thought it before. Maura Tierney, her performance was the one that it's interesting because my ex-wife is an Irish Catholic girl, and the woman I've been with for 25 years is also an Irish Catholic woman. So I guess I fell in love with, and then I always say about casting, your job is to fall in love and then behave yourself.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with Maura for sure.
Yeah.
Sean Hattasey is one of my favorite actors.
Yeah.
He played a guy with multiple personalities on ER, and then he played the troubled divorcing cop on Southland, and then he played the even more troubled eldest brother, Pope on Animal Kingdom. And he's so frightening in the show, and he's such a sweet man. It's kind of remarkable.
Yeah. He's one that really gets to, right?
Yeah, and he embraced the hell out of it.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
Yeah. In terms of what not to do in an audition room, I'm sure you've seen everything. Can you give us some nuggets?
Sure. Well, I mean, I think good manners are a very important part of the audition process. And respect for the fact that we're all working hard.
Yeah.
And, and so your preparation is a reflection of your respect for me. We were casting a trans character on Shameless, and it was the most interesting experience because it was a community I didn't know very much about. And then we eventually arrived at an actor who got the job. And a couple of weeks later, a guy came in to read for Shameless, which was the show that the trans character was on. And this man had been the father of a classmate of this trans actor. And it happened to have been a Catholic girls' school, where at first, and in any event, he expressed great disregard for this young person's transition. And he actually went on about it at some length. And his performance was rather good. But after he left, the director said, he was rude about this, and that told me something about him as a collaborator and as a member of the community.
Exactly.
That isn't what I want. So be careful what you say. We all have to be careful of what we say nowadays because words really matter. We're discovering that again here in Los Angeles just this last week with the unbelievably frightening remarks that we heard in the city council, and also with Kanye's wildly anti-Semitic rant. And I've been a flirt for a very long time, and I don't flirt very often anymore because you could get canceled for saying something off color, which you mean in the most innocent and funny and even respectful way. But the world has changed, and you have to be cognizant of what is appropriate behavior and what is not appropriate behavior.
It's a fine line at times, right? Because when you are in the room, right, you want to be present. You want to have a rapport with the casting director. Right. Not too much, though, right? Because you want to be respectful of time, etc. But you want to reveal yourself, right?
Absolutely. It's your job.
Exactly. You want to be as vulnerable as you possibly can be, but be respectful. So I guess, well, never mind. I'm not going to say it because it might be taken the wrong way. So I think we might open it up to some questions now. You are here for our students. So if you guys have questions, okay, please line up at the back there and use the mic, okay? And please don't be shy. You have a wonderful opportunity to meet a legend in this industry and ask him a question. So please.
Oh boy, do I feel legendary.
Yeah, you should.
Hi.
Hi, my name is Jules. I'm actually a screenwriting student, and I wanted to know what it was like for you to find the character on the page and then translate it to an actual actor in person, as well as what the collaborative experience is like working with a showrunner like John Wells, and the difference between casting something like Animal Kingdom and Shameless.
I'm not sure I heard everything you said.
Oh, that's a lot. Good.
But there really is very little difference between casting something like Shameless and something like Animal Kingdom, in the sense that you have worked with the writer and the director, talking about the tone of the piece and talking about the concept of the piece, and so you have a clear idea of their vision. You have your own ideas as well, and you don't honor them if they're in conflict with the writer and the director, but you add them to the community, to the mix, to the collaboration. And again, I'm always looking for spontaneity, for a realness, a simplicity, and then whatever the individual qualities are for the individual roles play into it as well. I think I missed the beginning of your question.
So finding, like, having a script and having the character on the page, bringing that to a person, how do you, like, what you get, like a vision, I'm sure.
Well, partly, you referenced that I called myself a vibist. An old friend of mine said, that's someone who plays the vibes. That's not what you mean. And I was like, but it actually is what I mean. But, I just could tell when someone would marry well with the words. But also, casting is a discovery process. And you find out things, and so do the writer and the director, if they're open. You find out things about the part that you don't know going in. And you find out things about the script that you may not know going in. You know, if 10 funny people come in for a comedy and the joke doesn't land, it's probably not them. It's probably the script. It's not funny. So I hope that answered your question. Thank you for asking.
Thank you.
Speak up at the microphone. I'm half deaf.
Hi, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Get a little closer to the mic. There you go.
I just wanted to ask, you mentioned that you are very into sociology and behaviorism when you're reading people. And I wanted to know, you mentioned how you hone that craft. As a storyteller, how is that something that you learn to do so that we can learn to do it for ourselves?
Well, I've been in therapy my whole life.
Me too.
I studied psychology in school, and it was one of the alternatives that I might have pursued as a career. But the imaginary world won out over the real world in so many ways. I'm not sure I really know how to answer that further than that. I guess it's that I have an empathetic nature, and that I somehow am able to what if myself into your circumstances and your skin. And if I had been able to do that as an actor, I might have had a career as an actor, but I didn't know myself well enough when I was a young man to know how to access myself in that way. I learned how, and that instinct I had for falling in love, and then developing the instinct for behaving myself. Thank you.
How
Thank
badly do you want them to succeed when they come in the door?
For purely practical reasons, very badly. I want to go home and have dinner with my family.
Yeah.
Instead of staying in the office till 8 o'clock waiting for you to bring the damn reel. And also because we all want to succeed. Nobody gets up to bat and thinks, this is going to be really great. I am going to strike out. You want to feel the ball and the bat hit each other and watch it roll and fly. I didn't crave attention or success particularly, but once I started achieving it, it felt really good. Yes, sir. Oh, I'm sorry.
Don't worry, it's okay. My name is Nejaya.
Speak up, please.
Okay, my name is Nejaya.
Hi.
Hi. I was going to ask a question in regards to the actors in the room. Obviously, it would be a great opportunity to be able to audition for you or be in the same room for you. That would be...
I'm sorry, I really can't hear you.
Oh.
Please move a little closer.
Is
Or
this
take
close
the mic
enough?
off the stand and hold it to your face.
Okay. Is this close enough?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. So into regards of the actors in the room, I wanted to know, obviously it would be a dream for us to be able to be in a room and audition for you. Of course, not all of us would have your contact information or someone to just offer our resume to you at whatever option that we had, but I did want to know what ways and we would be able to ensure being able to be in your presence or be able to actually be around you and audition for you.
I'm not going to give you my email address
course not.
because I just don't want to be that publicly available, frankly. But if you keep working and doing good work and taking your craft seriously, you'll get representation, or you'll do a play with an actor I already know who will think you're great. One thing leads to another, and if you just keep, plugging forward and taking it seriously and doing it with respect, eventually you'll come to the attention of someone like me who will give you an opportunity, and then the sky's the limit.
Thank you.
Work begets work, right?
Yeah.
The happy accident that you talked about is really opportunity coming your way.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Hi. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Hi. I want to ask a very basic question, but it's just like, what are the elements you most care about when you're casting?
What other elements?
What are the elements you most care about?
Well, I think we've talked about it. Respect for the profession, preparation, which is a reflection of your respect for your own self, and also authenticity, a willingness to be vulnerable, and a love of human beings.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the love of human beings speaks to community, collaboration,
Absolutely.
storytelling.
Sure, because there really aren't a lot of new stories.
Right.
It's the same stories that were told around campfires millions of years ago, kings and queens and love blossoming and love dissolving and war and, it's the same old stuff. And if you're a student of human beings and a lover of human beings, one who loves human beings, then you're in the right profession. Yes, sir.
Is it loud enough? Okay, I was gonna ask if somebody had an audition with you and they didn't do well and they came for another project and would you have any thoughts about them before they walked into the room because you've seen them before and they didn't do well on that, or would you just give them a clean slate because new project and just?
Well, I'm a person, so it's impossible to give someone an absolute clean slate. But
would you have them back in?
If they were unprepared and sloppy and rude and obnoxious, that would probably be their one shot. If I thought they were not doing a good job because they weren't right for the part, I wouldn't hold that against them. That's on me. I give people more than one shot unless they've given me a reason to banish them from the world.
The kingdom.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm pretty short, so. Hi, is this loud enough?
Yes.
Is this fine? Okay, hi, my name's Liv. First of all, thank you as well. So mine's also pretty basic, but I just wanted to know if mental health is taken into account when auditioning. So let's say someone's auditioning for a role and they have BPD or bipolar or something in that respect. Do you take that into consideration?
I wouldn't have any way of knowing that.
Well, let's say they said or something.
No. I mean, if you revealed it, it would then become part of the fabric of our interaction. And I wouldn't recommend revealing.
Well, let's say it's
psychological diagnosis in advance at all.
Okay.
If you behaved in a way that was, crazy,
yeah.
that would factor into the concept of, do I want to spend 15 hours with you on set? Do I want to subject my colleagues in my community to someone who may or may not be able to do the work?
Okay. All right, that's fine. Oh, actually, one more. Can I ask 2 questions?
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. This is also very basic, but nowadays, tattoos and stuff that's very, very evident and obvious on your character, if that doesn't suit the character type and you really like the actor and body cover is a possibility, is that
Yeah, the thing with tattoos now is that you have to have the right to show it if it's going to be shown. So you have to get the artist to give you a letter of permission that says you can show your tattoos. And if you're gonna, if you think, if it's a part of a Republican congressman, you probably want to come in wearing something that covers the tattoo that's giving you the finger anyway.
I see. All right. Okay, thank you. That helps a lot.
You got a drunken tattoo in Mexico and you don't know who the artist is. What do you do then?
You have to cover it then, because you really
you don't have the right to
you've been sued. Productions have been sued by the tattoo artists who see their work being used in a commercial project, and those settlements were hefty.
Yeah.
Wow. And I'm sure nobody got ahead of that.
No, we discovered it in process.
Right.
Suddenly, the legal department at Warner Brothers said, "You got to get clearance for every tattoo that's going to be on the screen."
I wouldn't have even thought of that.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Hi, can
Hi.
you hear me?
No.
Louder.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, my name is Sage. My question is, with all of the like new technologies and apps coming out, from your perspective, is it useful for us young actors to use like Actors Access and Backstage to like get our foot in the door? Or would you say it's more useful to just like find an agent and like go that route?
Well, the answer to that is yes. You should do all of that. Nothing that gives you exposure and opportunity is a bad idea unless it violates your personal principles, and be very careful about that kind of thing. Private meetings in hotel rooms were never a good idea, but now everybody knows that.
Basically, you do feel like using Actors Access and Backstage is like useful.
Frankly, on union television shows, that would be a resource I would use only in a very specific need that represented and union affiliated actors might not. There might not be as many of them. You know, when I was, when we were looking in the trans community, we opened it up to all kinds of avenues because at that time there weren't 500 trans actors who were in their early 20s. And so, you open it up. But for the two-line waitress who says, "Would you like another cup of coffee, sir?" That's adding an element that is just unnecessary.
Gotcha. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Do you go to showcases?
I go to the university program showcases, or I did. I haven't since COVID.
Yeah.
But I always go to Juilliard and Tisch and Carnegie Mellon and Yale and all of those wonderful programs. I don't go to the theater as often as I used to, but the two wonderful women that work for me cover all of that. They also watch a hell of a lot more television than I do. And they bring names and actors to my attention. So I'm still plugged into that. And also I rely on my long-term relationships with agents and managers to excitedly pitch their new and interesting clients. Yes.
Hi, I just wanted to say thank you for the idea of, just honing in on community. And I wanted to speak or ask a question about that. When one starts to notice that you're developing a community, how do you kind of cement and foster that,
Gosh, I wish I knew. I think if you value community and you sense that one is being formed, then you need to make it your proactive work to cement that community, to express to the other people that you feel something is happening here and you're willing to do something to cement that and to further that. And then you are likely to be able to enlist at least some of the other people there to be active and proactive as well.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
Is this loud enough?
Not quite.
Now?
Yes. We're all in a T-Mobile commercial.
So I wanted to know if you're given if you see a sudden breakdown for a character, and maybe you don't exactly match the physical attributes, but you believe that you can play that character, do you encourage that person to go for the audition either way?
Absolutely. And if you've been given an appointment, then, if it says this 6'2" burly man and you're not, but they've given you an appointment, then clearly the 6'2" and burly isn't the important thing. So, I think you should say yes to opportunity.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
We recently had Henry Winkler here, and he was talking about when he was cast for Arthur Fonzarelli, right?
Yeah.
And they were looking for any other type but him, right? And
Absolutely.
what he brought to the role, he booked it and became this, an icon.
And also, he was Emerson trained.
Yes.
And serious about his work.
Yes.
And he was able to use his imagination to what if himself into Fonz's circumstances. I mean, most recently on How I Met Your Mother, Neil Patrick Harris, the man, couldn't be any further away from the character he played.
Yeah.
But he's a talented, trained actor who was able to use his imagination to what if himself into that circumstance and be fantastic at it.
Hi. My question is, since COVID, everything has gone online, so I wanted to know how many submissions there are, and if you look at all of them.
Question.
A hell of a lot, and probably not all of them. Because I've been doing it for such a long time, I know who I can trust, whose submission. So I select the submissions from particular agents and managers who, and especially for the top 8 or 12 parts. The smaller parts, you also trust the agents and managers. You're also relying on look, and then you're exploring resume to see what they've done, even if it's not much. And fortunately, I'm in no jeopardy of getting fired on the shows that I have recently worked on. So I'm willing to take a chance, especially in the digital world, because if I invite you to do a small part audition and it doesn't work, I don't have to show it to anybody. So, whereas if I invite you into the room, I'm invested in how you do. If I don't know how you're going to do, I'm taking a chance.
Thank you.
Sure.
Hello. How are you doing?
Good.
It's great to hear. I'm Zach. As most of us are familiar, failure is one of the best ways to learn, if well, not the only ways to learn in this industry. I just didn't know if there was any specific anecdote you might have had early on in your casting career where maybe someone slipped through the cracks. Maybe they weren't the best option, but maybe because of less experience, they might have got through, or because maybe there's multiple people that are casting it at the same time. That doesn't happen as much. I mean, I'm assuming if it's not just you, then there's more people that can make that decision. But I just didn't know if there was a moment where, maybe it wasn't your best judgment call, and it was just...
Well, casting directors get to say no and maybe, and then other people in collaboration get to say yes. So that's sort of a fact of life. Sometimes someone's experience, and that factors into the final decision. You've seen them play a similar part or a totally different part, and you know them to be talented. So if you're aware of the breadth of their experience, you can bring that to the decision-making process. And part of the casting director's job is to say to the director and the writer and the producer, hey, that wasn't his best. We can get him back in here Tuesday, or I can send you a film from an episode of something else that I think will show you what he didn't show you today. There are definitely actors who are better on set than they are in an audition. And there are also actors who can knock the hell out of an audition and then never get there again. And that is something that y'all need to work on. Thank you.
Disappointing, to say the least.
Very.
William H. Macy is famous for saying how much he hates the audition process.
Yeah, he when he started directing on Shameless, he was so empathetic towards the actor.
Yeah.
Sometimes to the point where he talked for an hour and we were behind schedule.
Hi, I'm Hannah.
Hi, Hannah.
I have a question
to other questions which were already asked. So you said that you have your trusting people around you who you trust with the talents, but if you're looking for a type and you're walking on the street and you see a stranger and it fits exactly your type, or like the type for the role, would you come up to this person and say, okay, come to the office with me? Or have you done that before?
Absolutely not, and absolutely not today. That being said, once we were casting a part on The West Wing, who was a translator for the ambassador from Thailand, and the actors who came in, they needed to be fluent in both English and Thai, and the actors who came in who were fluent weren't terribly good, and the ones that were good weren't terribly fluent. And so we were in a bind, and my associate at the time, Kevin Scott, went to Thai restaurants for 3 meals in a row, and he was able to find someone who could do it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Were they an actor?
Not that I know.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay. I think we have time for one more.
Okay, I wrote down my question so I wouldn't forget it.
Louder, please.
Okay. If you've like seen someone's face and seen like their work and they've like come into the audition room, oh, is it cutting out?
No, you're
No,
good.
you're fine.
Oh, okay. And like you like what they've done, but they're not right for the role. Would you like bring them back for that role, or like bookmark them and then like bring them back specifically for something you think they're right for?
There are two good things that could happen in an audition that are good. One is you're right for the role, and the other is that you're talented and interesting. And if you're talented and interesting, I need to remember you and find another time to use you. If you're right for the role, I leave you alone and hope that you're the answer. Speaking of right for the role,
Right for the role.
Thank you.
I really hope that some of you, many of you, will go on Amazon and I think that the ebook is under $10. You know, the hardcover is much more, and the paperback is somewhat more. But this is a legacy project that wouldn't exist without Trudy and our collaboration and the community of two that we created. And I in all modesty, feel confident in saying that you'd get something important out of it. I am selling books, and that's a part of it. I don't deny that, but I think that this is a piece that Trudy and I did with a great deal of thinking about you and wanting you to have an opportunity to benefit from 35 or plus years of my experience and 15 years of Trudy's wonderful experience, because she's only 28.
That's right.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought your birthday was last week. But in any event, I sincerely hope, and if you get a chance to read it and you have some feedback or comments or express, you know, I think Melissa is somebody I'm in touch with, and you could communicate with her and she'll relay your communication to me. I hope I didn't overstep.
We want to thank you so much, for both of you, for coming. You were wonderful.
Thank you,
Give a
everybody.
really warm round of applause for John and Trudy. Thank you so much. This is wonderful.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thanks. Oh, you want another?